Jack Miller stood at the observation window of the starship Endeavour. The endless black of space stretched out before him, dotted with distant stars. He had been a combat medic with Earth Space Corps for 5 years now. This deep space survey mission was supposed to be quiet and peaceful, a nice break from the chaos of the border conflicts. Lieutenant Miller to the bridge. Lieutenant Miller to the bridge. The ship's AI voice echoed through the corridors. Jack sighed and straightened his uniform. He walked quickly through the metal hallways until he reached the bridge. Captain Linda Reeves stood with her hands behind her back, staring at the main screen. "You called for me, Captain?" Jack asked. "Yes, Miller." The captain pointed to the screen without looking at him. "Our sensors picked up a damaged ship about 50,000 miles from our position. It's not one of ours." Jack felt his heart beat faster. "Aliens?" "We think so," said Susan Wright, the ship's doctor, who stood next to the captain. "First contact scenario. The ship appears badly damaged. Life support is failing. We're sending a team to check for survivors," Captain Reeves said. "I want you on that team, Lieutenant. Your medical skills may be needed." Jack nodded. "Yes, Captain." 30 minutes later, Jack stood in the shuttle bay with 5 other crew members. They wore sealed spacesuits with clear helmets. Each carried standard equipment, medical kits, translation devices, and defensive weapons. "Remember," said Commander Bill Rogers, who led the team, "this is a rescue mission first contact second. We don't know who or what is on that ship, but they need help." The team boarded the shuttle and launched toward the alien vessel. As they got closer, Jack could see the damage clearly. The ship was huge, about 3 times the size of Endeavour. Its hull was dark metal with strange symbols etched into the surface. One side had a massive hole, likely from some kind of weapon. "This wasn't an accident," Jack said quietly. "They were attacked." The shuttle docked with the alien ship. Jack's hands shook slightly as the airlock cycled. This was history in the making. Humanity's first contact with an alien race. The door opened to reveal a dark corridor. The air was breathable, but thin. Emergency lights flashed, casting red shadows on the strange metal walls. The team moved, carefully through the ship, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. "Life signs detected," said Rogers, checking his scanner. "One life form, very weak. This way." They followed the signal to what appeared to be the bridge of the ship. Bodies lay everywhere. Jack had seen death before, but nothing like this. The aliens were large, at least 8 feet tall, with thick, scaled skin that reflected light in rainbow patterns. They looked almost like reptiles that had evolved to walk upright with 4-fingered hands and powerful legs. Only one of them still lived. It lay slumped against a control panel, breathing in ragged gasps. Dark purple blood pooled beneath it. "Oh God," Jack whispered, moving forward instinctively. The creature was wearing ornate armor covered in symbols. A warrior of some kind. "Miller, wait," Commander Rogers warned. "We don't know if it's dangerous." "It's dying," Jack said, already pulling out his medical scanner. "I have to try to help." The creature's eyes opened as Jack approached. They were bright yellow, with vertical pupils, like a cat's. It spoke, its voice deep and rasping. The translation device on Jack's wrist processed the sounds. "Zarathi. They came, without warning." The alien coughed, more purple blood spilling from its mouth. "My crew, all gone. I'm Lieutenant Jack Miller from the Earthship Endeavour," Jack said slowly. "We're here to help you." The alien's eyes widened slightly. "Earth, humans. We have heard of you. I am Commander Krell of the Kavari Dominion." Jack ran, his scanner over the alien's body. "He's lost too much blood," he told Dr. Wright, who had knelt beside him. "Multiple internal injuries. I don't know enough about his physiology to treat him effectively." "We should get him back to Endeavour," Dr. Wright said. "Maybe we can—" "No time," Krell gasped. "I die here, as a warrior should." Jack refused to accept that. He had never let a patient die without doing everything possible to save them. He took a blood sample from the alien and ran it through his portable analyzer. "This is strange," he muttered. "His blood has some similarities to human blood. The base proteins are compatible, and the oxygen carrier molecules are similar to our hemoglobin, just with a different metal ion. An idea formed in Jack's mind. A crazy, protocol-breaking idea. "Susan, help me set up a direct transfusion," he said to Dr. Wright. "What? Between you and the alien?" "That's insane, Jack. We have no idea how your blood will react with his system." "Look at his blood work," Jack insisted, showing her the scanner. "The basic structure is compatible. My universal donor blood might keep him alive long enough to get him proper treatment." "It's against all protocols," Commander Rogers said firmly. "Captain Reeves would never approve this." "Then don't tell her until after it works," Jack said, already rolling up his sleeve. "I'm not letting him die." Before anyone could stop him, Jack connected a tube between his arm and a major blood vessel in the alien's neck. His red blood began to flow into the purple system of the Kavari. "Jack, stop this right now." Dr. Wright tried to pull the tube out. "Just give it a minute," Jack insisted. "If there's a bad reaction, then—" He never finished his sentence. As soon as his blood entered Kreltor's body, something strange happened. Where the red and purple blood mixed, it began to glow with a soft blue light. The glow spread through Kreltor's visible veins, moving up his neck toward his head. Jack felt a strange tingling sensation in his arm that quickly spread throughout his body. His vision blurred. He heard the concerned voices of his team members, but they seemed far away. The last thing Jack saw before losing consciousness was Kreltor's yellow eyes locking with his. The alien's expression was one of shock and wonder. "Blood, brother," the translation device caught before Jack's world went black. He woke up 3 days later in the medical bay of the Endeavor. His whole body felt different, stronger, more alert. When he looked in the mirror, he was shocked to see that his eyes now reflected light, just like a cat's. Strange markings had appeared on his skin, faint but visible patterns that looked similar to the symbols on Kreltor's armor. "What happened to me?" he whispered, touching the markings on his arm. "That," said Captain Reeves from the doorway, her face serious, "is what we'd all like to know, Lieutenant. Your alien friend is awake and demanding to see you. He keeps calling. You his blood brother. Care to explain what that means?" Jack looked at his changed reflection again. "I wish I knew, Captain. I truly wish I knew." Jack walked slowly down the corridor toward the secure diplomatic quarters where Kreltor was being kept. 2 armed guards stood outside the door. They nodded respectfully as Jack approached. "He's been asking for you non-stop, sir," one of the guards said. "Captain says you have 15 minutes. Jack took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room had been modified to accommodate the alien's larger size. The temperature was several degrees warmer than the rest of the ship. Kreltor sat on a reinforced bed, his massive scaled form looking out of place among the human furnishings. The alien warrior stood when Jack entered. He was even more impressive, conscious and standing, at least 8 feet tall with broad shoulders and powerful limbs. His scales shimmered with iridescent colors in the light. "Blood brother," Kreltor said, his voice deep but now clear through the translation device. "You have come at last." "My name is Jack," he replied, keeping a safe distance. "Jack Miller, what did you do to me?" Kreltor looked confused. "I did nothing to you, Jack Miller. It was you who gave the gift of blood. A gift no Kavari has ever received from an outsider. Then why am I changing?" Jack held up his arm, showing the strange markings that had appeared on his skin. "And why do my eyes reflect light now?" Kreltor moved closer, examining Jack with interest. "The blood bond. It is happening faster than I expected." "Blood bond? What are you talking about?" "Among my people, the sharing of blood is sacred," Kreltor explained. "When 2 warriors share blood willingly, they become shakrel, bloodkin. It is deeper than family, deeper than any bond, except perhaps that between mates." Jack felt his heart rate increase. "But I just gave you a transfusion to save your life. It was a medical procedure." Kreltor made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. "You gave your blood freely to save an enemy you did not know. Do you think such an act has no meaning? No consequences? The universe does not ignore such gifts. That doesn't explain the physical changes, Jack insisted. Our blood carries our essence, Kreltor said, touching his own chest. When your blood entered my veins, and when my blood touched yours through the same tube, a connection was formed. My genetic material is now part of you as yours is part of me. Jack sat down heavily on a chair. Are you saying I'm becoming like you? Not exactly. You are becoming something new, something neither fully human nor fully Kavari. Kreltor's yellow eyes seemed to glow slightly. I too am changing, though less visibly. I can sense your emotions now. I know you are afraid. Jack couldn't deny it. He was terrified. Can this be reversed? No. The bond is permanent. But do not fear it, blood brother. It brings great gifts. Before Jack could ask what gifts, the door opened and Captain Reeves entered with Dr. Wright. Time's up, Lieutenant, the captain said curtly. Dr. Wright needs to run more tests on you. Captain, Kreltor said, bowing his head slightly in respect. I must speak with you about matters of great importance. And what would those be? She asked coolly. The Zarathi, the ones who attacked my ship. They are coming to your territory next. The captain's expression hardened. Is that a threat? No. A warning. Kreltor looked at Jack. My people have been fighting the Zarathi for centuries. They are not conquerors. They are consumers. They harvest worlds and the species that live on them. Why should we believe you? Dr. Wright asked. Ask Jack, Kreltor said simply. Through our blood bond, he can access my memories. He knows I speak truth. All eyes turned to Jack. He felt uncomfortable under their gaze, but something inside him knew Kreltor wasn't lying. Images flashed in his mind. Vast swarms of insect-like ships, planets burning, Kavari warriors fighting against overwhelming odds. He's telling the truth, Jack said quietly. I can see it somehow. The Zarathi are real and they're dangerous. Captain Reeves sighed deeply. Very well. We'll hear what you have to say, Commander Kreltor. But first, Dr. Wright will continue her examination of Lieutenant Miller. In the medical bay, Dr. Wright ran scanner after scanner over Jack's body. This is fascinating, she muttered, looking at the results. Your DNA is actually changing, restructuring itself, and your cellular regeneration rate has increased by 300%. Is it dangerous? Jack asked. I don't know, she admitted. Your body isn't rejecting the changes, which is surprising. In fact, by all measures, you're healthier than before. She put down her scanner. Jack, what does it feel like? He thought for a moment. Different. Stronger. Like I've been seeing the world through a dirty window all my life and someone just cleaned it. Later that day, Captain Reeves called a meeting with her senior officers. Jack and Kreltor were both present, sitting side by side. Commander Kreltor has informed us that the Zarathi Empire is expanding into our sector of space, she began. According to him, Earth is directly in their path. Kreltor stood, his massive form dominating the room. The Kavari Dominion has been fighting the Zarathi for generations. We have managed to slow them but not stop them. Now I believe our best hope is an alliance. An alliance? Security Chief Ned Johnson scoffed. Why would your people ally with us? You know nothing about humans. I know Jack Miller, Kreltor said firmly. I know his courage and his compassion. And now, through our blood bond, I carry human genetic material within me, just as he carries Kavari genes. What exactly are you proposing? Asked Captain Reeves. I request permission to bring Jack before the High Council of the Kavari Dominion. Our blood bond is unprecedented. It could be the foundation of an alliance that might save both our species. The room erupted in arguments. Jack sat quietly, feeling the strange new connection to Kreltor. Through it, he sensed the alien's sincerity and his fear. Not fear for himself, but for his people and for humanity. Enough, Captain Reeves said finally. This is beyond my authority. I'll have to consult with Earth Command. 2 days later, Jack was summoned to the captain's quarters. She looked tired. Earth Command has been debating your situation nonstop, she said. Most of them think you've been compromised. They want to quarantine you and study the changes. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. And what do you think, Captain? I think we're facing something bigger than one man or one ship. She handed him a data pad. These are your new orders. You're to accompany Kreltor to the Kavari homeworld as Earth's unofficial envoy. Report everything you see and learn. Jack took the pad, surprised. They're letting me go? A small faction in command sees the potential value of the blood bond, and frankly, they're curious about what will happen to you. She looked him in the eyes. This isn't just about you anymore, Jack. This could determine the future of Earth. Jack nodded slowly. I understand, Captain. Do you? Because once you leave this ship, everything changes. You'll be the first human to visit an alien world. And with the way you're changing, you might be the last. Jack looked down at his hands at the faint markings that seemed to grow more distinct each day. Maybe I'm exactly what we need right now. Someone who's both. The journey to the Kavari homeworld took 6 weeks in Kreltor's repaired vessel. Jack spent the first week exploring the ship, marveling at the alien technology. Everything was built on a larger scale, designed for the Kavari's massive frames. The ship was called the Fang of Dawn, a scout vessel that normally carried a crew of 20. It's strange to see it so empty, Jack said, as Kreltor showed him the engine room. Yes. I carry the memory of each fallen warrior with me, Kreltor replied, placing a 4-fingered hand over his chest. They died with honor fighting to the last breath. I'm sorry about your crew, Jack said. I wish we could have saved more of them. Kreltor turned his yellow eyes to Jack. You saved me. That was enough. During the second week, Jack noticed more changes in himself. His night vision improved dramatically. He could see clearly in almost complete darkness. His strength increased. Once, when a heavy storage container shifted during a course correction, Jack caught it before it hit him. It weighed over 300 pounds. The bond grows stronger, Kreltor observed. Your body adapts to carry the gifts of my blood. What? About you? Jack asked. Are you changing too? Yes, though differently. I find myself thinking in new ways. Human ways. Kreltor made the rumbling laugh sound again. I dreamed of your Earth oceans last night. I have never seen an ocean. Yet, I could smell the salt and feel the water on my scales. By the third week, Jack began having vivid dreams. Not ordinary dreams, but memories. Kreltor's memories. He saw battles against the insect-like Zerathi. He witnessed ceremonies in great crystal halls. He felt the pride of earning battle scars and the grief of losing comrades. I can speak your language now, Jack said one morning, the complex Kavari words flowing naturally from his tongue. I didn't learn it. I just know it. Kreltor nodded. The blood bond gives access to genetic memory. My ancestors speak through me to you. In the fourth week, Jack learned more about Kavari society. They were a warrior culture, but not mindless fighters. They valued art, science, and philosophy. Their civilization was far older than humanity's, stretching back nearly 50,000 years. Your people evolved from prey species, Kreltor explained during one of their long talks. You learned to fear, then to overcome fear. My people evolved from apex predators. We had to learn restraint, to channel our hunting instincts into discipline. What's your position in Kavari society? Jack asked. You command a ship, but there seems to be more to it. Kreltor was quiet for a long moment. I am heir to the House of Tor, one of the 9 great houses that govern the Dominion. Jack stared at him in shock. Your royalty? Not as humans understand it. The great houses earn their position through service and honor, not bloodlines. Alone. My father leads our house because of his wisdom in battle and peace. I will succeed him only if I prove worthy. And now you're blood bonded to a human, Jack said quietly. Will that hurt your standing? It may, Kreltor admitted. Or it may be seen as the will of the ancestors. We shall see. In the 5th week, They entered Kavari space. Jack watched, in awe as they passed massive battle stations and sleek warships. The Kavari were clearly prepared for war on a scale humanity had never imagined. "The Zarathi have pushed us back for centuries," Kreltor said, standing beside Jack at the viewport. "These defenses were built with the blood and sweat of generations." Finally, in the 6th week, they reached Draken Shah, the Kavari homeworld. From orbit, Jack could see it was a harsh planet of mountains and deserts with small blue-green seas. 2 suns blazed in its sky, one orange, one red. "It's beautiful," Jack said, meaning it. There was a stark majesty to the landscape. "It is, home," Kreltor replied simply. They landed at the capital city, a sprawling complex of crystal and metal structures built into the side of an enormous mountain. As they disembarked, Jack was hit by the planet's heat and higher gravity. Though the air was breathable for humans, it was thinner than Earth's atmosphere. He would have struggled before the blood bond, but now his enhanced body adapted quickly. Delegation waited for them, 7 tall Kavari warriors in ornate armor. They stared at Jack with a mixture of curiosity and distrust. One stepped forward, even larger than Kreltor. Gold bands adorned his scales, and a cape of shimmer cloth flowed from his shoulders. "Father," Kreltor said, bowing deeply, "I have returned." "So I see," the elder Kavari replied, his voice even deeper than Kreltor's. His eyes turned to Jack. "And you bring a human with you?" "Not just any human," Kreltor said. "This is Lieutenant Jack Miller of Earth, my blood brother." A shocked murmur ran through the delegation. Kreltor's father stepped closer to Jack, examining him with intense yellow eyes. "The markings," he said. "They are real. You have truly shared blood with this alien?" "I have, Father. He gave his blood freely to save my life when my ship was destroyed by the Zarathi." The elder Kavari circled Jack slowly. "No outsider has ever bonded with a Kavari. The Council will not accept this easily." "The Council must hear what we have to say," Kreltor insisted. "The Zarathi move toward human space. If Earth falls, we will be surrounded." "Come," the elder said finally. "You will both rest and prepare. Tomorrow you will face the High Council." He looked directly at Jack. "Be warned, human. Our ways are not your ways. The trials ahead will test you beyond anything you have known." Jack returned the stare steadily. "I understand, sir. I'm ready to face whatever comes." That night Jack was given quarters in the House of Tor's ancestral home, a vast structure of crystal and stone built into the mountainside. From his balcony, he could see the twin suns setting behind distant peaks, casting the landscape in blood-red light. A servant brought him food and drink suited for his human physiology. As Jack ate, he felt Kreltor's presence in his mind, a now familiar sensation. "Your father doesn't approve of me," Jack thought, knowing Kreltor would sense it through their bond. "He fears change," came the reply in his mind. "Our people have fought alone for so long, they have forgotten there can be other ways." What trials was he talking about? "The Council will demand proof of your worth. Bloodkin must be worthy of their house." Jack looked down at his hands, at the markings that now covered much of his body. They seemed to glow faintly in the dimming light. "What if I fail?" he thought. "Then we both fail," came Kreltor's somber reply. "And both our worlds may fall to the Zarathi swarm." Jack took a deep breath of the thin, hot air. Tomorrow would bring challenges he couldn't imagine. But he wasn't just Jack Miller anymore. He carried the blood of 2 worlds in his veins now. Somehow he would find a way to succeed, for Earth, for the Kavari, and for the strange new future that his simple act of compassion had set in motion. Dawn came quickly on Draken Shah, the twin suns rising over the jagged mountains. Jack woke to find ceremonial clothing laid out for him, a blend of human and Kavari styles. The fabric was lightweight but strong, designed to handle the planet's harsh conditions. It fit perfectly, as if made specifically for his changing body. A young Kavari servant guided him through winding crystal corridors to a preparation chamber where Kreltor waited. The warrior was dressed in formal armor that gleamed in the morning light streaming through high windows. "The council chambers are deep within the mountain," Kreltor explained. "We must descend 7 levels to reach them." What exactly should I expect? Jack asked as they walked toward a large lift platform. Questions. Many questions. And then the trials, if they allow it. Allow it? I thought the trials were certain. Krelltor's expression grew serious. Nothing is certain. Some on the council will argue for separating us, breaking the blood bond. Jack felt a chill. Is that even possible? It would kill us both, Krelltor said simply. But some might consider that preferable to allowing our bloodlines to mix. The lift platform descended smoothly through the mountain. With each level, Jack saw more Kavari watching him with curious or hostile eyes. By the time they reached the 7th level, a small crowd had formed behind them. The council chamber was an enormous circular room carved from the living rock of the mountain. 9 massive chairs formed a semicircle on a raised platform. 8 were occupied by Kavari elders wearing elaborate ceremonial armor and adornments. The center chair, larger than the others, remained empty. Hundreds of Kavari observers filled tiered seating around the chamber. A low murmur ran through the crowd as Jack entered alongside Krelltor. Step forward, commanded one of the council members, her scales a deep blue-black color. Let us look upon this human who claims bloodkin status. Jack walked to the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of all those alien eyes upon him. He stood tall, showing no fear despite the rapid beating of his heart. I am Lieutenant Jack Miller of Earth, he said in perfect Kavari language. I stand before you as blood brother to Krelltor of the House of Tor. This caused a stir among the council. The blue-scaled female leaned forward. You speak our tongue well for an alien, she said. Krelltor, explain how this blood bond came to be. Krelltor joined Jack in the center of the room and recounted the story of the Zarathi attack, his near death, and Jack's decision to share blood to save him. As he spoke, the central chair was suddenly occupied. Krelltor's father had arrived. High General Vortor, the blue-scaled counselor acknowledged. Your son brings an unprecedented situation before us. Indeed, Elder Mevshal, the High General replied. Yet I remind the council that blood bonds are sacred under our most ancient laws. Not even the council may break such a bond once formed. The laws speak of bonds between Kavari, snapped another counselor, his scales a mottled green. Not between our kind and aliens. The laws make no such distinction, Vortor countered calmly. The debate continued for hours. Jack stood silently, watching the complex political maneuvering unfold. Through the blood bond, he could sense Krelltor's tension and his determination. Finally, Elder Mevshal raised her hand for silence. This matter is without precedent. Traditional law offers no clear guidance. She fixed her gaze on Jack. Therefore, the human must prove his worth through the trial of 9 blades. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even Krelltor seemed shocked. Elder Mevshal, he protested. No off-worlder has ever survived the trial of 9 blades. Then he will. Be the first, she replied firmly. Or he will die trying. If he is truly worthy of carrying Kavari blood, let him prove it. High General Vortor stood. The trial of 9 blades requires preparation. 3 days. 1 day, countered the green-scaled counselor. 2 days, Elder Mevshal decided, and the human will be kept separate from Krelltor during this time. We must be certain the blood bond is genuine, not some trick. Jack looked at Krelltor, who gave a slight nod. I accept your terms, Jack said, bowing to the council. Guards escorted Jack to an isolated chamber deep within the mountain. The room was comfortable but secure, clearly a form of honorable imprisonment. Food and water were provided, along with historical texts about the trial of 9 blades. Jack read with growing concern. The trial was a series of 9 combat challenges against increasingly difficult opponents. No breaks between fights, no weapons provided. Victory came only through defeating all 9 opponents, or surviving until they yielded. That night, as Jack meditated to prepare himself, he felt a strange, pulling sensation in his mind. Following the feeling, he closed his eyes and found himself in a mental space shared with Krelltor. They cannot block the blood bond completely, Kreltor's voice echoed in his thoughts. It grows too strong. I've read about the trial, Jack replied mentally. It seems impossible. For a human, yes. But you are not entirely human anymore. Even with these changes, I can't defeat 9 Kavari warriors in succession. You don't need to defeat them all through combat, Kreltor explained. The trial tests more than fighting skill. It tests wisdom, honor, and understanding of our ways. How do I prepare in just one day? Use the blood bond. Through it, you can access not just my memories, but the genetic memory of my ancestors. Centuries of knowledge are within you now if you can reach them. Jack concentrated, focusing on the feeling of connection between them. Suddenly, his mind was flooded with images, ancient battles, sacred rituals, secret techniques passed down through generations of Kavari warriors. There is something else, Kreltor added. Something strange I've discovered through our bond. Humans carry genetic memories too, but you've forgotten how to access them. The bond is awakening this ability in you. Jack explored deeper, following paths through his own DNA that had always been closed before. He found memories of ancient Earth, humans hunting mammoths, building the first cities, crossing oceans in fragile vessels guided only by stars. The next morning, when the guards came to escort him to the trial arena, Jack was ready. He moved with new confidence, his body balanced perfectly despite the planet's higher gravity. The arena was a circular pit carved from stone, surrounded by thousands of spectators. The council watched from a special platform. Kreltor stood with his father, his face showing carefully controlled concern. The trial of 9 blades begins, announced Elder Mevshal. Lieutenant Jack Miller of Earth, blood brother to Kreltor of the House of Tor, will face 9 warriors in succession. The first opponent jumped into the arena, a young Kavari male, quick and eager. The crowd roared as he charged at Jack with claws extended. Jack didn't try to match the alien's strength. Instead, he moved with fluid grace, using techniques gleaned from the genetic memories of Kavari warriors who had faced similar trials centuries ago. He redirected the young warrior's energy, using his own momentum against him. The crowd fell silent in surprise. This was not the clumsy fighting they expected from a human. When the 7th opponent fell, yielding with a ceremonial phrase Jack somehow knew to listen for, murmurs of respect began to ripple through the arena. The 8th opponent, a veteran, female warrior with battle scars across her scales, actually smiled at Jack before attacking with terrifying speed. Their fight lasted longer, Jack's enhanced body reaching its limits. But when she finally collapsed from exhaustion, she too gave the yield phrase. The 9th blade approaches, called Elder Mevshal. To Jack's shock, High General Vortor himself stepped into the arena, removing his ceremonial cloak. Father, no, Kreltor shouted from the sidelines. It is my right, the High General replied calmly. The final test must be worthy of the prize. Jack stood bleeding and exhausted as the most decorated warrior of the Kavari Dominion approached him. Victory seemed impossible now, but something strange was happening. Through the blood bond, Jack could feel Kreltor's presence growing stronger in his mind. And not just Kreltor, he could sense thousands of Kavari ancestors, their knowledge, flowing into him. At the same moment, Vortor paused, his yellow eyes widening in surprise. You feel it too, Jack said softly. The bond has spread beyond just Kreltor and me. Vortor nodded slowly. The ancestors speak through you. The High General raised his voice so all could hear. The trial of 9 blades is complete. This human has proven worthy not by my judgment, but by the judgment of our ancestors who live in our blood. The arena erupted in chaotic noise, some cheering, others protesting. Jack swayed on his feet, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. Kreltor vaulted the barrier and rushed to Jack's side, supporting him. You did it, blood brother. You accomplished what no off-worlder has ever done. What happens now? Jack asked weakly. Now, said High General Vortor, approaching them. We listen to what you and my son have to tell us about the Zarathi threat. And perhaps, he looked up at the council members who were watching in shock, Perhaps we discuss an alliance with Earth. 1 month after the trial of 9 blades, Jack stood before a new council. This time it was a joint meeting between Kavari leaders and representatives from Earth who had arrived on a diplomatic vessel. The humans looked uncomfortable in the heat and gravity of Drakon Shah, but their faces showed determination. Admiral Frank Wilson, head of Earth's delegation, kept glancing at Jack with barely concealed shock. Jack knew his appearance had changed dramatically. The markings on his skin now formed complete patterns similar to Kavari scale arrangements. His eyes had fully transformed, the vertical pupils clearly visible even in bright light. He stood taller, his muscles denser, his movements carrying the fluid grace of a Kavari warrior. "Lieutenant Miller," Admiral Wilson said during a break in the proceedings. "I hardly recognized you." "I'm still me, sir," Jack replied. "Just more than I was before." The Admiral nodded uncomfortably. "Earth Command is concerned about your transformation. Some want you to return for extensive testing." Jack felt Kreltor tense beside him. Through their bond, he sensed the warrior's protective instinct flaring. "With respect, Admiral," Jack said carefully. "Separating me from Kreltor could be dangerous for both of us. The blood bond continues to develop." "So I've been told," Wilson said, glancing at Kreltor. "Is it true you can communicate mentally now?" Jack nodded. Among other things, the negotiations continued for days. The Kavari shared their knowledge of the Zerathi, centuries of battle data, analysis of their tactics and weaknesses. Earth offered technological innovations that the more traditional Kavari had never considered. Together, they began forming a defense strategy. But Jack and Kreltor knew something was missing. Through their deepening bond, they had both been experiencing the same dream, a vision of an ancient temple complex on the forbidden moon of Kavex. "The Soul Forge," Kreltor explained when Jack first mentioned the dream. "It is a myth among my people. A weapon created in the first wars against the Zerathi, but abandoned because it required a price too high to pay. After much discussion with both the Kavari High Council and Earth Command, they received permission to investigate the ancient site. A small team was assembled, Jack and Kreltor, 2 Kavari scientists, and 2 human specialists. The forbidden moon orbited a gas giant at the edge of Kavari space. Its surface was covered in the ruins of a civilization far older than either humans or Kavari. The temple complex rose from a valley floor, its twisted spires reaching toward the stars. "These structures are not Kavari design," said Dr. Lily Parker, one of the human scientists. "And they're certainly not human." "No," agreed Kreltor. "The legends say they were built by the ancients, a race that fought the Zerathi before either of our species evolved intelligence." The team made their way into the temple. Strange symbols covered the walls, not quite writing, more like mathematical equations expressed as art. Jack found he could understand portions of it, as if the knowledge was buried in his DNA, awakened by the blood bond. "The Zerathi are older than we thought," he said, running his hand over one wall. "They've been consuming worlds for millions of years. They don't just conquer, they absorb the life essence of entire species." "How do you know that?" Dr. Parker asked, looking at him strangely. "I just know," Jack replied, unable to explain the genetic memories flooding through him. In the heart of the temple, they found it, the Soul Forge. Not a weapon as legend, described, but a chamber containing a device of unimaginable complexity. It seemed to shift and change as they looked at it, parts of it existing in dimensions beyond normal space. "What is it supposed to do?" asked one of the Kavari scientists. "It's a genetic recombination device," Jack said, the knowledge coming to him through the blood bond. "It was designed to unlock shared genetic potential between compatible species." Kreltor nodded, experiencing the same revelation. The ancients believed that diversity was the key to defeating the Zerathi. They built this to help species combine their strengths, but it requires a pre-existing genetic bond, Jack continued. 2 individuals who already share DNA must activate it together. "Like us," Kreltor said quietly. Jack looked at his blood brother. "No one has ever used it successfully. The Kavari who found it couldn't activate it without another species. And no Kavari would voluntarily share blood with an alien, Kreltor finished. Until now, they spent days studying the device, the scientists running tests and taking measurements. Finally, Earth Command and the Kavari Council gave permission for an attempt to activate it. The risk is acceptable given the Zarathi threat, Admiral Wilson said over the communication link. But be careful, Lieutenant. We don't know what this thing will do to you. On the day of the attempt, Jack and Kreltor stood alone in the chamber. The others watched from behind a protective barrier. Jack could feel his heart pounding, and through the bond he felt Kreltor's hearts beating in perfect sync with his. Whatever happens, Kreltor said, it has been an honor to share blood with you, Jack Miller. The honor was mine, Jack replied. They placed their hands on the activation plates of the Soul Forge. Instantly, energy coursed through them both. Jack felt his body dissolving, merging with Kreltor's form. There was no pain, only a sensation of expanding awareness as their separate consciences became one. In that moment of unity, Jack understood everything. The ancients had created the Soul Forge not as a weapon, but as a path to evolution. The Zarathi consumed life because they could not evolve naturally. They were cosmic parasites, feeding on the genetic potential of other species. The Soul Forge was designed to unlock that potential before the Zarathi could steal it, to create new forms of life that could resist their psychic consumption. A blinding light filled the chamber. When it faded, where Jack and Kreltor had stood, a single being now existed, neither human nor Kavari, but something gloriously new. It stood nearly 9 feet tall, with scaled skin that shifted colors like flowing water. Its eyes held the wisdom of 2 species and countless ancestors. The scientists stared in shock as the being stepped toward them. When it spoke, its voice carried echoes of both Jack and Kreltor. We understand now, it said. The reward for sharing blood was not power or knowledge, but transcendence. The being extended a hand, and a wave of energy pulsed outward. As it touched each person present, something awakened in their DNA, dormant potential that had always existed but never expressed. The Zarathi cannot consume what evolves beyond their understanding, the being explained. This gift will spread to both our peoples through quantum entanglement at the genetic level. When the Zarathi come, they will find not humans and Kavari, but something new. Within days, reports came from both Earth and Drakon Shah of strange changes occurring in the population. Humans developed heightened senses and intuition. Kavari gained flexibility of thought and emotional depth. Children born afterward carried traits of both species, despite having parents of only one. When the Zarathi fleet arrived 6 months later, they found something they had never encountered in millions of years of conquest, a unified force that existed partially in the same psychic dimensions they used to consume life energy. Their weapons proved ineffective against beings who could shift their molecular structure at will. The combined fleet of Earth and the Kavari Dominion shattered the Zarathi invasion force. For the first time in their ancient history, the cosmic parasites retreated. 5 years later, the first city of New Kavari rose on Earth, a shimmering crystal metropolis where the hybridized descendants of both species lived and worked together. The being that had once been Jack Miller and Kreltor served as ambassador between the original populations and the growing hybrid community. On the anniversary of that first blood transfusion aboard the Endeavour, the being stood before a monument, commemorating the moment when a human medic had shared his blood with a dying alien warrior. Children gathered around, their features showing traits of both ancestral species. The simple act of compassion, the being told them, opened a door that had been waiting for millennia. The reward for sharing blood with someone different from yourself is not just survival, but evolution, a future beyond belief.